Okay, so I want to just welcome you all back to class. It's been about a month since we've been together, and really am grateful to be able to be here once again. And some of us were chatting here before we started the recording, speaking about how today is Juneteenth. And for those of you who maybe are coming in from outside of the United States and are unsure about what we're speaking about, Juneteenth has been kind of long understood and known in Texas as a day of grief, a day of really recognizing the transgressions and the systemic racism that has impacted Black people in our country for so long. And I had actually never heard of Juneteenth until last year's Juneteenth, and that was the first time that it really came to my awareness. And I think that as a country, we've really shifted, and I think as a world, we've really shifted in conjunction with our pandemic year to a time when we have just recognized the need to speak out and come forward with recognition of how much racism there is in our country, in our world, that has been ongoing, that has been left unaddressed, and that it's time that we speak up about this and that we take greater responsibility for this. And one of the things that I just love so deeply about the yoga practice is that any embodiment practice invites us to take self-responsibility. And that what we're really speaking about here is a trauma story, right? We're speaking about a collective trauma story. And that, you know, whether you are showing up for this practice on a journey to heal your own pain, your own experiences of misuse of power against you, or that has occurred in your world, or whether you're showing up here because these collective events have also impacted you. When we sit and when we show up with an intention to be present, that presence allows us to listen and allows us to really open up a healing process. And when we cultivate that within ourselves, when we're really creating this capacity to listen and to listen to where we have ignored or even harmed ourselves with our own thoughts, our own actions, and when we can make reparations internally, it also allows us to show up more with greater presence and with greater sensitivity in our relationships, where we can show up and say, I think I missed you, or I didn't hear you correctly, or I think that I said something that hurt your feelings, and we're willing to listen and make reparations interpersonally as well. I think that, you know, from a relational perspective, that there are the inevitable experiences of life where we do hurt each other or miss a tune or inadvertently say something that lands wrong for another person. It's not that we're going to live life without any of that, but what makes the biggest difference is when we take the time to recognize those moments and to repair them. Right? Like this is what we see in parenting, right? It's not that we're going to be perfect parents, but that we're going to be able to acknowledge when we had moments where we, you know, pushed our kids to climb the mountains 4 extra miles, right? And they said, why did you do this to me? You know, metaphorically, right? So it's the process of showing up and being accountable. And I think yoga plays a really pivotal role in this process. So I just feel grateful to be able to teach on this day and to be able to speak to this for a moment. So today's class is really around the word empowerment, and that personal empowerment as related to collective empowerment, as well as the differentiation between what is empowerment versus power over or misuse of power. So we're really speaking about right use of power. And we're going to explore today how embodiment is a central aspect of empowerment, and that the more that we embody our tissues, our soma, our emotional body, right, all of our bodies, the more that we embody our spiritual power and presence, the less likely that we're going to feel thrown about by whatever it is that's happening around us, right? Like other people are going to show up with whatever they're conscious of or unconscious of, but we can actually stand in what's true and what we know and what our boundaries are. So we'll be playing with all bits and pieces of this. We'll play a little bit, and I'll get to this when we get there, but there's a little bit in here of, I don't know if any of you have watched Amy Cuddy's Power Poses. She was this Harvard-based researcher that was looking at these power poses that we can take, that you can do before an interview, where you basically build up a sense of confidence in your body based on how you're shaping your body. And so we're going to play a little bit with how do we develop that felt sense of confidence in the body based on taking these kind of powerful shapes. And one of her aims of that research was to help empower minorities and women before going into interviews. And to really increase their chances of success. So just some cool little tidbits there. So, all right, that's all that I wanted to say. It's a lot that I wanted to say. And I'll invite you to shift inward. This is your practice. With all practices here, I invite you to really tune into why have you shown up for yourself in this way on your mat. Intention is a powerful part of this practice. Knowing your why, getting that clarity in your mind, setting the seed of that intention in your heart. And even if the words of the intention are not clear for you, see if you can access the felt sense. What is it that you want to take away with you from your practice? As you continue to orient inward, I will invite you to land a little further with two quotes for today. One is from one of my favorite authors and books, The Seat of the Soul by Gary Zukov. And he wrote, "No understanding of evolution is adequate that does not have at its core that we are on a journey toward authentic power, and that authentic empowerment is the goal of our evolutionary process and the purpose of our being." I will also complement this with a quote by the African-American poet K.Y. Robinson, who speaks very openly in her poetry of her own journey with mental illness. She writes, "The galaxy is yours. Star your own sky. Drink the shooting stars. Lasso the moon. Take a bite. Feel the juice of self-love running down your chin and laugh madly. You're still alive. You're still alive. You're still alive." So we will celebrate this aliveness together. I'm going to shift back onto my mat. I'll invite you to take a moment here and bring your palms together if that feels right for you. Shift my you here. Okay. Bringing your palms together, if this feels right, into Anjali Mudra. And we'll press the thumbs, the knuckles of the thumbs right into the sternum so that there's a little bit of a sensory anchoring at your heart center. And with this contact, allow your sternum to lift up in towards your thumbs. So that you're breathing into this point of contact, allowing yourself to even sense your own heartbeat under your skin, your own aliveness. And in Anjali Mudra, as you make contact with the base of the palms and the fingertips, I invite you to create a little bit of space between the palms. The space represents the potentiality. It's like a flower that's not yet opened, but an honoring of what's possible. Once again, you can take that seed of your intention, planting it inside of this flower, trusting that with breath and practice and movement, that the seed will grow, that we will open to possibility. And if you'd like, joining me in the sound of Om, just waking up to the presence of your own voice, inhaling here. Om. Slowly releasing your hands. And once again, if it feels comfortable for you, we'll invite a mudra here, one palm over your navel and one hand over your heart. And our hands are here simply to guide the breath. So this breath-centered practice is to begin by inviting the breath to come into the lower hand, into the belly, and to expand into your heart. And then we'll exhale from the upper chest and exhale through the belly. Continue to inhale, expanding, and exhale, contracting. Maybe a slight contraction in the throat, keeping that quality of sensation alive with the Ujjayi Pranayama. It's a slight constriction of the whisper muscles in the throat, creates an audible quality to the breath. And it also helps to slow down the breath. So as we restrict the pathway of the air, we can lengthen the breath here. And I'll invite you, as you follow and exhale out, really feel the contraction and follow it with movement. Follow your inhale into some gentle expansion and allow your spine to be guided by the breath. As you exhale, slightly concave, draw the navel back. As you inhale, expand the belly, lift the heart. Exhale, curling forward. Inhale, belly, heart, lifting the chin. Inhale to your throat. Exhale, contract. Throat, heart, belly. Inhale, expanding into the space you're creating. Exhale, we'll free the arms here. Let your arms kind of mirror this process, going toward that contraction. Inhale into the expansion, reach, grow. Exhale. And just follow your own rhythm now of breath and movement. It might not be in sync with me or with anyone else in the class. Just allowing yourself to honor the sensations and the rhythm of your breath and body. And your arms might explore some variation. So you might reach one arm up and keep the other contracted. You might find that this movement has a little bit of a side to side as you breathe into the spaces of tension or contraction in your body, and we're honoring them. You can even allow your legs to curl toward you and then open up away. You perhaps could imagine that you're like a creature at the bottom of the sea, and that the breath are the currents of the waters. So that this movement is in response to the internal and external environment, the currents around you, and the way that you respond. Allowing yourself to feel into not only those places of tension or contraction, but also into the freedom of the expansion. How does that shape you? What does the reach feel like? And then from here, I'll guide a little bit of movement. Feel free to make it your own. We're going to expand the arms upward, and exhale. We're going to take this towards the right, an open twist here, right fingertips behind, left hand to the right knee, a gentle twist here, and then allow this to be breath centered as well. Guided by the breath. So there might be a contraction and expansion even in the twist. If you'd like, you can keep that left hand anchored on the right leg, free the right arm, and we'll take the left shoulder toward the left knee, breathing into the right side body. And you might reach those right fingertips forward or open the shoulder back. The breath might be in and out the nose, in and out the mouth, just exploring what feels natural. Maybe there's even a sigh or a sound. And then slowly lifting up. We'll come through center, maybe the arms lift in the transition, and exhale to the other side. Right hand to left knee, left fingertips behind, and a few breaths here. Just exploring how your body takes shape, organizes, finds the twist, backs out of it. And then perhaps keeping the right hand anchored, right shoulder can lean towards the right knee. And then breathing into the left side body. Lovely. Slowly coming back up through center, releasing your hands. We'll take the feet out in front of us. I'm going to come to the side here for this one. And leaning back enough to free your right foot off the earth, and we'll cross right ankle over the left knee. And then using your hands here to gauge the distance between your chest and your calf or your shin, and begin to notice the sensations in your right hip. So it might be the outer hip, and you can adjust this. So you can walk your hands closer, further back. You might rock your legs just a little side to side until you find some of those sweet spots where your body says, right there, that's where I need the breath. That's where I need some attention. This act of listening, showing up, being present for yourself. And then we'll unwind and find this on side two. Left ankle over the right, knee, thigh, and then allowing yourself to adapt and shape this to meet your needs today. Slowly unwinding, releasing the left foot down. And from here, I'll invite you to walk your hands back just a little bit to use your hands and arms as a lever to lift through your heart and chest. And with this expansive heart space, just allow yourself to fill with breath. It's up to you. You might choose to stay with long, deep breathing. Or you might want to add on with a short round of Kapalabhati breath, in which we're kind of like breath of fire, exhale, drawing the navel in. So it'll look and sound like this. So you might stay with the long, deep breathing or join me for a few more rounds of Kapalabhati. Inhale deeply here. And exhale. From here, walking yourself up, and we're going to find a little balance shape here onto the backs of the sits bones. So we're making our way into boat pose or Navasana. And you can keep your toes on the earth, or you might bring your shins parallel to the earth, hands behind the knees, allowing the spine to be long, heart lifted. You might stay just like this, or you might bring your arms out alongside your legs. Again, an option to stay here, or you might explore lengthening through your arms and legs. So there's no better or worse, no right nor wrong. It's allowing yourself to feel into what serves your body right now. Coming back to breath. And either staying as you are or using your hands to guide this next phase. You can also bring your toes down if you prefer, but we'll find our way into a half boat. So here's the full variation, or you can use hands and feet. Allowing yourself to find some version here, again, of waking up, maybe shaking into the core, right? Allowing yourself to feel the strength of your body. And then we're going to lift back up into Navasana. Maybe the arms and legs lengthen. And we'll find Ardha Navasana, half boat. Navasana, lengthening up. Ardha Navasana. Navasana. Ardha Navasana. Navasana. And then placing the toes down and lowering yourself all the way down onto the mat. We'll stay with some of this core strengthening just a little longer here. Hands behind the head this time. And exhale, lifting head, shoulders. Inhale, lower down. Exhale to lift. Inhale to lower. Feeling that empowered core of your body will be helpful as we come into some of the expansive standing poses. Either staying just as you are or lifting the feet off the mat. Exhale, inhale to lower. Knees are stacked above the hips, so they're not coming towards the face. Nice and spacious here. And lowering upper body, replacing the feet onto the earth. One more layer into this one, coming into the obliques. We're going to extend the right leg up towards the ceiling and exhale your left elbow towards the right knee. Inhale, we'll lower the right heel towards the earth, lower the upper body. Exhale, draw it all towards center. So the right leg might be long, or you might bend into the right knee. Either way, staying on this one side, just feeling your connection to you. Beautiful. Let's come back through center. Let's switch it out. Planting the right toes, lengthening through your left leg, crossing right elbow towards the left. And then inhale, we open. Exhale, bend your straight leg, coming towards center. Inhale, expand. And whichever version you're doing here, really notice how you can keep that sense of connection even on the expansive phase. So we draw it all in, we contract, and don't give it all away when you open up. Lovely. Back through center, lowering the head down. We'll find a little bit of a wave through the spine here, planting the feet. Inhale, sweeping the arms and the hips up, just a gentle bridge. Exhale, hands by your hips, hips lower to the earth. Maybe a little arch in your spine as you send the pelvis down. Inhale, we roll the pelvis up, roll the spine up, the arms can follow. And exhale, just rolling it back down. Little undulation here, last one, rolling up. And exhale. From here, an invitation to draw your right knee towards your right shoulder and extend your left leg long. So here we get into the hip flexors and allowing yourself to just find some gentle and intuitive movements of your right leg, maybe pulsing it in, maybe a few rotations. And you can stay just like this, or you can amplify the sensation in the left hip flexor by bending the left knee, taking left heel towards your right hip, and then drawing the left knee away towards the earth. Now you can take the right knee with your right hand, extend your left arm overhead, and we have this possibility here of using the right knee as a little lever here, a movement here that as you draw the right knee towards your right shoulder and extend your left knee in the opposite direction, you'll very likely begin to feel some sensation across the top of the left hip flexor and thigh. Again, maybe a little pulses or micro movements into the right leg. And then slowly unwind that side. Let's take side two. This time we draw the left knee in and extend the right leg long. So in this shape, we have a really interesting relationship to the psoas muscles because we're creating a contraction in the left side and an extension in the right side. Now, if we were in a different relationship to gravity, you can imagine that you're on a track preparing to run, right? That you're in this preparatory movement. It's like that we're gathering the potential to expand and mobilize into the world. So the psoas muscle is very much connected to our capacity to draw the knee in preparation for fight or flight. Now we can stay like this, or maybe if you did so on the other side, bending into the right leg, right heel towards your left hip, left hand takes hold of your left shin, right arm up overhead, and feeling that reach, right fingertips to the right knee, using your left knee here, some micro movements, and sending your breath into the tight spots. So we're not here to make that tension wrong. We're here to go, oh, you've kind of been mistreated, and we're here to listen to your story, right? We want to know what's going on in there. That's the practice. You have a story to tell, and I'm listening. One more breath here. And unwinding, planting the left foot, releasing the right leg. And as we're still here on our backs, we're going to find a happy baby shape. So taking both your feet up, bending your knees, and you can draw your hands to your outer ankles. Maybe you take hold of your outer feet. There's no better or worse here. And once again, this is an opportunity to explore. So this is our home base, and you might reach out through one leg and rebend and switch sides. Maybe you find a little reach outward through both feet. Maybe you explore what happens as you take hold of the soles of your feet and press your feet into your hands. So if we were in a different relationship to gravity, we might be in a Malasana or a squat, or we might even be in a Bakasana, crow pose. Maybe we'll play with those later, right? But for right now, just without the wading into the arms or the heaviness of gravity, just noticing how your hips are doing today. And then from here, we'll take a hold of the back of the knees and a few rocks on the spine, making your way across your shins. We'll meet in a tabletop. And here in tabletop, an opportunity to find some free form movement. Whatever is serving you today, that's just asking for integration. What's needing to be honored. And especially as we've been waking up the breath and the spine and the core, this is a beautiful place to sense and feel and allow yourself to be guided by what you're awake to now. From this shape, if it feels okay on your knees, I'm going to invite you to walk your hands back a little bit. We're going to free the left leg and step the left foot out. So I'll show it in this direction to gravity. And some of you who looked at my mini practice that I posted yesterday maybe explored this already. But we're going to find a half malasana, a half squat. And so it's similar to what we just played with on our backs, except that we're in a new relationship to gravity. So I'm coming back and I'm sitting on my right heel as my left foot is out to the side. And you can angle that left foot out a little bit here and just see how it feels to get into this, the inner groin and inner line of your left leg. So for me, I like to come down onto my elbows, my forearms, and you might slide a little bit forward and back, side to side. If your knee is not having this, you can access a lot of this up higher, right? So that there's no necessity to create strain in the joints. So following what's going to serve you, and a lot of you who've taken with me before know that I like some of these primal or primitive shapes. There's something important about getting into the instinctual quality of the body. So again, you can feel this potential that from this shape, of course, we could kind of pounce forward. So there's a lot of potential in the hips, a lot of power here. All right, let's switch sides. So we're going to unwind, draw that left knee back. You might find a little bit of free form movement before walking back, freeing the right leg out to the side and finding your version here. So I'm sitting back towards my left heel, and you can use your fingertips on the ground, right? Like your claws. You can walk your hips back towards the heels. You can allow yourself to come forward or down onto forearms. So sadly, a lot of the misuse of power in our world has been as a way to control that which feels scary, out of control, foreign, unknown. There's been this way in which the body has been lumped into that category. Femininity, you know, anything that feels too close to the earth, too primal. So we're reclaiming this as a source of our power. When we get into the body, we're saying, you don't get to tell me that I can't live and be fully embodied anymore. I get to take up space. I get to claim my connection to the earth. And we're going to come back up. We're going to reset the knees here, and let's walk it out in a downward facing dog. So you can tuck the toes under, lift your hips, and just as we did in our tabletop, just finding some free form movement, guided by your sensations. How does your body want to own this shape? Maybe you walk out one leg and then the other. Maybe you bend both knees deeply, lift up onto the toes, lengthen through the spine. And from here, I'll invite you to walk your feet out wide, bend your knees, and walk your hands back into a Malasana, a low squat. So we found this on our backs. Now, a new relationship to gravity. We are just finding some mobility. So I'll invite you to just sway a little side to side. One knee might lift as the other lowers. The heel might lift and lower. You can kind of crouch yourself in the center here, maybe finding your way to balance onto both feet. And if your knees are sensitive to this, you might be up here, and that's just fine. Allowing yourself to find your way in. You can bring elbows to the insides of the knees, but really squeeze back on the elbows with the knees here so that you're hugging everything to midline. Allowing that compression towards midline to really lengthen your spine, amplify that connection of feet to the earth. Good. And some of you know this next transition. You've done it with me before. We're going to reach the arms out. Got a lot of sun behind me today. We're going to reach the arms out. We're going to press into the feet, and we're going to press all the way up to standing. It's a big move right there. New relationship to gravity. Acclimating here, maybe shaking your hips a little side to side. And I'll invite you to bring your hands to your hips. So Amy Cuddy in her power poses calls this the Wonder Woman stance. That's for you, Rebecca. Okay, and just allow yourself, you can have a little bend in the knees, but really let your heart lift. Let your gaze reflect that sense of confidence. You know where you stand, and nobody's going to shake you from your ground. Maybe you feel your heart beating in your chest. And we'll add on to this, drawing the arms up overhead. And she calls this one, Amy Cuddy calls this one the Mick Jagger stance, okay? So however you want to think about it, but it's like you're standing on stage and you're receiving that standing ovation from the audience. You've done it, right? Just let it come toward you. Let that recognition of your truth and beauty and empowerment shine. You are allowed to claim your space. Beautiful. Exhale, let's release the hands here. We're going to step wide onto the mat, and I'll invite you to take a moment. I'm going to drink some water for a moment, but I'll invite you to take a moment, and if you have two blocks or something like that, and you like them for extended side angle or Trikonasana, it can be helpful to have one on both sides of your mat. And don't worry about it if you don't have it. There's variations without blocks. Okay. So from here, coming back to our power stance, and I'll invite you to turn both feet toward the left. And we'll find an exhale and just making your way into a warrior two stance. So allowing yourself to maybe toe heel your feet a little wider, explore what helps you feel grounded into your legs, spacious in the upper body. You can take your gaze over your left fingertips. Good. And then from here, we're going to turn towards the left and allow the right heel to lift up. So we're in a low lunge toward the left side of the mat. And you might stay with that right knee lifted, or you might lower the right knee down. It's just allowing yourself to feel. It's a little bit like that half malasana, that half frog that we did earlier, of just allowing yourself to feel into the left inner thigh and groin, left hip flexor, right hip flexor. You might come down onto your forearms. Maybe you tuck the right toes under and lift the right knee. So there's variations. This is a lizard pose. I have a particular love of this shape. And again, just feeling your closeness to the earth. You might even create little claw fingers here, like a lizard claws, and lengthening between your right heel and the crown of your head. And then we'll press back up onto hands if you're not there already. And we're going to ground back into the right heel. This time, maybe using a block or maybe the fingertips on the floor. We're going to open up from the ground up into an extended side angle. So finding your way in, you can always lift up higher so that you have your forearm on top of your thigh. So listening to what serves you, and allow yourself to really feel your legs, your hips. We're going to draw the heels toward each other as if you're trying to kind of scrunch up your mat between your feet so that your legs are very active here. And then an invitation to draw the right arm back behind. Feeling how the strength and power in your legs doesn't have to compromise the opening of your heart. And then allowing your arm to perhaps come up overhead, reaching fingertips long. Your gaze can be down or lift up. And then big power move, pressing into the left foot, reaching with the right hand. We'll reach all the way around to reverse triangle, reaching long through the left side body. And exhale, 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 reaching long through the left fingertips, rotating your hands. Triangle. Maybe your block underneath your left hand. What's beautiful about triangle is it's a very stable shape. Once again, you can engage the legs, squeezing them towards each other, and then allow the right fingertips to help open through your heart. Slowly, once again, through the reach of the right fingertips, let yourself lift all the way up. And we'll turn both feet towards center, softening your hands down. This time, both toes angling slightly towards center. You can use your hands on your low back here to feel a little bit of a lift of the heart, a slight leaning back. And exhale, coursing forward, long spine. You can release the hands by way of the legs down to the earth, fingertips touching down. And exhale into Prasarita. So allowing yourself to feel again the triangle, secure base of the legs And then allowing the upper body to soften into gravity. You can find some of that wave of the spine. Maybe a little rocking side to side in your hips. And either staying here or we'll find a halfway lift and we're going to bend into that left knee. So I'm turning my toes out on that left side to accommodate this. And we're going to lift through the right toes. So into a little ninja shape here, a surfer's pose, and make it yours. So if this is too much on the knee, you're up higher, right? And if you're comfortable coming deep into the lunge, you might even come onto forearms. We're working into the inner line of the right leg, very powerful line in the body. Some of you might even wrap the left arm around the leg and take a hold behind your body, right? There's no right or wrong, no better or worse, just exploring how does your body greet this shape. You can flex and point your feet, wiggle in there, and we'll come through center. Let's find that on the other side. So this time it's the right toes slightly out, flexing through the left foot. This side might have a different story to tell. You're going to honor the depth of your body and the truth of your body's practice. Maybe you come onto forearms, flex and point the foot, wiggle it in. Maybe you find that bind around the right leg. And then slowly up through center. This time, sending both your feet out and coming with the forearms onto both legs. So a little pulsing here. You once again might even figure eight through your hips. It's a little bit of movement. Intuitive, embodied, and connected to the earth. And then from here, keeping that depth of the legs, lifting through the heart, maybe traditional goddess arms here as you claim your power. Your legs might be speaking to you by now. Good, let that happen. Let yourself feel a little bit of the heat rise. And then pressing into the feet all the way back up. One more reach here, Mick Jagger. And then soften through the arms. We're going to turn the feet toward the right. This time, right toes out, left toes angled in, and allowing yourself to toe heel your feet to the right distance for you, finding warrior two. Tapping into the spiritual warrior within. That part of you that's unafraid to go towards challenge, to recognize that life will always present us with something to work with, and that's part of growth. And it's something that we don't have to be afraid of. And we'll inhale here, and we're going to exhale down towards the inside of the right foot, lifting the left heel. And you might adjust your stance a little bit. You might lower the knee or keep it lifted. We're making our way into lizard in this side. Perhaps staying lifted onto your hands, or you might come onto forearms. Feeling that long line from the left heel through the crown of the head. Greeting the sensations in your left hip flexor and your right inner leg and groin. And then slowly walking up onto hands, regrounding through your left heel. And then with or without a block, maybe forearm to the thigh, we'll make our way into an extended side angle. And I'll invite you to start this out with that left hand back behind you. So once again, I'm feeling my legs. Maybe you are too, right? Maybe a little bit of shake going on in there, some heat building. That's okay, right? We're here to show up for you. And if you need a break, honor the break. It's all about what's true. Maybe the arm comes up overhead. And then slowly, long reach with the left fingertips, lengthening through the right leg. What a relief. We come all the way up, reverse triangle. It's taking a moment. Lengthening through the right side body. And then long reach through the right fingertips as we rotate down into Trikonasana triangle pose. Maybe a block. Squeezing legs toward each other, keeping that connection to the midline as we expand and open. And then from here, a different transition down. We're going to walk the left fingers down, plant the right hand, and step the right foot back into a high plank shape. Allowing yourself to pause here for a moment. And then exhale, bending the knees to the earth, bending the arms, drawing the chest, the chin to the earth into inchworm. And then descending hips down, allowing yourself to take a moment just to wiggle your hips a little side to side. And we'll find a Cobra pose here. Your choice, how much weight in the hands, how much lift of the chest. We'll roll through Cobra just a few times with the breath. Inhale, maybe a little bit more of a lift. Exhale as you lower, finding that undulation of your spine and the way that breathing into your hips, your tailbone, can actually generate that wave. One more here. And then using the hands, we'll press through table and keep the hips lifted as you walk the hands forward into Anahata, heart chakra pose. You can rest the crown of the head, the forehead down, the hairline down. Maybe you take palm to palm into Anjali Mudra and bring that prayer pose behind the base of the skull. Here, hugging your elbows toward midline and breathing into your shoulders. Releasing the hands, curling the toes under, walking your hands further back, and lifting up into a Navasana once again. So we've had a visit to this shape already. This time you might choose to stay here, or I'll offer up an opportunity to play a little bit with bringing some weight into your hands and allowing yourself to balance there. So this is into Bakasana or crow pose. And what we do here is we place the knees towards the armpits on the backs of the triceps. And you can keep your toes down, or you might explore lifting one toe and then maybe the other, and a little bit of balance. And some of you will say, no, thank you. And some of you are already there, and there's no right nor wrong, just an opportunity to play. But once again, if you're going towards this, you're hugging inner thighs towards midline very strongly. You might feel a little bit of that shake here. And when you're done with that play time, and I hope it felt like play, let yourself come back down to Malasana. And we'll make our way back up to standing. Reaching through the arms, inhale, all the way up. A little bit more playtime here. We're going to root down into one foot and just allow yourself to lift through the opposite leg. So I'm rooting into my left leg, my right leg is lifted. It's okay if you're on the opposite side, but we're gonna find the same shape that we found on our backs. So you can use one or both hands. You might come out of balance, that's okay. One or both hands, drawing that right shin up towards the right shoulder. Allowing yourself to feel the compression in one leg, the length in the other. Maybe you open that right knee out towards the side. Maybe you free up the arms. And you might even explore a little bit here with just some rotations through the right leg, through the right hip. Notice how that base of the left leg has all of these micro movements to accommodate our greeting the world. You can rotate the right leg in the opposite direction, right? Your upper body might move in response to the changing demands of coming in and out of balance. And we'll switch it out. Planting your lifted leg for a moment, 2 feet on the floor, noticing what's happening inside. And then shifting the weight, new standing leg, lifting through the other side. You can clasp 1 or 2 hands here, feeling a little bit of that compression in the hip flexor, the extension in the standing leg. And then maybe you open the leg to the side. Maybe you free the arms and perhaps start to explore some circles around the left hip. allowing the spine, the arms, the breath to be inspired and to inspire the shape, circling the other way. Falling out of balance is totally welcome. And eventually planting, grounding, 2 feet on the earth. I'm going to turn to the side. You can keep your feet hip width apart, or you might step them closer together, whatever serves you here as we come into Katasana. And we'll inhale, draw the arms up, and we're going to move a little more rapidly with the breath. Exhale, sweep them back. Inhale to stand. Exhale, if you'd like, palm over your heart center. You're still alive. You're still alive. You're still alive. Coming towards the front of your mat if you are not there. Taking an inhale here, just feeling that aliveness, reaching from the soles of your feet up to the realms of potential with your fingertips. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, planting your hands, stepping back. High, maybe low plank, maybe to the earth, either for Cobra, or inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Now, there's an invitation for this next part to come into Pigeon. We'll invite you to draw the right leg up and exhale forward with the right knee towards the right wrist. And if your knee is saying no, thank you, you can come onto your back for figure 4 or the seated figure 4 we did earlier. If you're coming into Pigeon, for today, I'm going to invite you to stay more upright, at least to start, and to explore what happens rather than trying to get your hips all the way to the earth, to actually explore what happens as you draw the right knee forward and the right knee back and the left knee forward. So we're drawing the inner thighs toward each other, using that power, perhaps lifting up through your upper body. And here's where a block can also come in handy. Just to support that lift through the upper body and that strength that's drawing toward midline in the legs. From here, if you want to free the arms, you might place them towards the low back, or you might clasp them behind you and inhale, lift through the heart. There's nothing forced here. You can free the arms open, however this shape serves you, but we're going towards really squeezing in through the lower body and lifting through the heart. Now, allowing yourself to release, using your hands and coming forward. Now, you might even in this forward fold continue to squeeze the lower legs toward each other, which means your hips will be a little bit more lifted up rather than all the way down to the earth. And then maybe you come to forearms, maybe even here, you rest your forehead down. And just notice what happens. Notice the sensation in your right hip, left hip flexor, reaching your tailbone back into the space you're creating. And then slowly using your hands to lift up. It's a very active pigeon, right? It's very different. Curling the left toes under and stepping your right foot back to meet the left. Taking a moment to walk this out in your downward facing dog. And we'll find side two. Inhale, freeing your left leg. Exhale, left knee towards your left wrist. And then as we explore on the other side, rather than just going down towards the earth, I'm going to invite you to keep some space here. My right toes are even curled under, and I'm drawing the right knee forward, left knee back. So it's a very powerful, again, kind of triangle shape through the lower body that can allow for that secure base. Maybe you lift up onto your thigh here, maybe you use a block. Allowing yourself to explore the support in the lower body that lets you lift through the heart. And then maybe amplifying that with the arms, reaching back, planting onto the low spine, we're interlacing. And breathing into your heart. Continue to squeeze the legs toward each other. And then slowly, hands plant. And continue to keep some action in the legs as you lower down through the upper body. Long through the spine. Surrendering your weight into gravity, head heavy. And then slowly, as you are ready, lifting up, using your hands to free your left leg back by your right. Maybe walk it out. And then descending both knees down. And coming back to sit onto your heels for a moment. Receiving your practice as it has taken form so far. What is changing inside? What's moving? What sense of freedom or potential is waking up? I'll invite a final heart opening shape into Camel Pose, Ustrasana, lifting up onto the knees, maybe curling the toes under as a nice secure base here. And then allowing yourself with the hands on the lower back to just find a lengthening of the spine, a lift of the heart. The pelvis reaches forward, the tailbone presses downward. This is a lovely place to stay. Or you might free the arms. You might free the hands down towards the heels and continue to press the pelvis forward as you lift the heart, drawing the inner thighs toward each other. Secure, strong base, connected to midline, opening up to potential. And slowly, once again, lifting up. This time, perhaps shifting to seated with your legs crossed. You might, if you prefer, to sit up on something, lifting your hips slightly higher than your knees. And this time, an invitation to bring your hands from Anjali Mudra into Lotus Mudra. With Lotus Mudra, we keep the bases of the palms connected, the pinkies and thumbs connected, but we open up through the rest of the fingers. Lotus Mudra represents the opening of the heart and this recognition that the lotus flower has its roots in the mud. So whatever is there that serves as the muddy ground, the shadow, the places that we haven't wanted to feel, whether that's personal or collective, can also serve as the roots of compassion and the roots of opening up into the flowering of your heart. Perhaps tuning in to your own intention that you set at the beginning of today's class. That seed that you planted in Anjali, and allowing yourself to experience any of the small, subtle markers of change. Softening into the receptive state. There is nothing that you need to force. Softening the creases between your eyebrows. Letting go through the palate of the mouth, the muscles of the jaw. Eyes can be soft. Tongue can be soft. Throat is simply receptive and open to this precious moment. The flowering of the heart is spontaneous, never efforted. Your hips can remain heavy. Belly soft. Choosing to stay here, or if you are feeling longing towards a Shavasana, allowing yourself to transition onto your back. Taking another 2 minutes or so in any receptive shape. Feeling nourished by the gift of your presence, cultivated through practice. Very gently, if you're still seated with Lotus Mudra, I'll invite you to press one fingertip to the next until you've returned back to Anjali. In closing and restoring to the heart all that you have gathered, all the gifts, into this sacred center. And whether you are seated or laying down in Shavasana, perhaps joining the closing sound of Om once again, sealing your practice. And if you choose, extending from your heart the benefits of this practice to all beings. Inhaling here. Oh. Namaste.